All right, we finished up CBLOL yesterday, so I just wanted to go ahead and try and finish the VCS's finals today. I also just did like a little bit more research into this. It looks like this is the grand finals, and I'd assume Vietnam has a loser's bracket because it looked like the semifinals of this playoffs. Saigon Buffalo actually beat GAM 3-2. So I'm a bit interested. I honestly might even go back and rewatch that series, because at least just off of the game one, mechanically, both these teams looked pretty good. This team just didn't seem on the same page. I wonder if that was just like comp or like also look more at like their player stats in between the games. But for now, let's just look at draft. Um, let's see, it's been what, 2 days since we watched the Saigon Buffalo game. Uh, but I do remember that they did pick the Callista for Shogun as well. We'll see if they're just going for the Callista Mumu. Draven, Ophelio Sariband. Still no Sivir Prio in this region. Varus again, actually. Will be the Callista Mumu coming through. First pick, Aatrox for Kaya. Gwen pick for Hosmed. They're on 12.15, so like the pretty massive Gwen nerfs that pushed her out of the meta in like 12.14, 12.13 are already through. And there wasn't any other top bans. Most people have just been trading Gnar into the Aatrox. I believe that was what happened in the last game. Let me just pull up the Reddit thread. Okay. Yeah, game one, Hosmed played the Aatrox last game, and Kaya was on the Renekton, which they banned away on blue side. Right, and it was the Pantheon versus Lee Sin game. Okay, yeah. Last game they played Callista Renata. This game it's Callista Amumu into Varus Renata. Phase 4 bans. The Pantheon ban for Gigabyte Marines, I really don't think the Pantheon was that useful in the last game. He ended up being 447 at the end of it, but aside from like a few decent ult plays, the champion was just less useful than even like a Zinzao would be in the comp. Azir ban, pretty standard control mage to take off the table. Ari is also banned, so we're down to like Talia and Victor would be my guesses. With Poppy up, I would expect one of these teams to take a jungle, especially with Trundle banned, which is like the main counter. Okay, Saigon Buffalo opt for the Galio and the Hecarim. Hecarim buffs are on patch 12.18, so the champion is not as in its like crazy W makes him impossible to die Q's one-shot state. He's still more oriented around the E, so I would expect a tank build from BJ, because that's what the changes on live were, to push him out of E tank builds and into Q fighter builds. Levi has always been a bit of a Nocturne aficionado. He's shown up in other leagues as well, some Nocturne mid. I believe there's some Nocturne jungle in the LPL at some point. Peanut might have played it too. It's been a few weeks since all the other regions played their finals, though. The Galio pick, obviously it was played in NA by Bjergsen to very little effect. It's always been more of a like either LPL picks it and it's like Doinby playing and they just like F mid lane, like I'm just roaming all game long, or Korea plays it and it's like Faker just going for big team big team fights on the Galio pick with like 4 or 5 man taunts. Overall, I'm gonna favor Gigabyte Marines comp just because like there's a reason that 3 of these champions are not in the S tier of the meta, whereas Aatrox is definitely an S tier top laner. This guy's A tier. I think the bot lane is A tier, whereas this might be what you would consider an S tier bot lane. But I think in terms of strength and weaknesses, like these two fall off pretty hard, especially against a champion like the Victor, who has long range slows, which is really annoying for Kalista. Overall, it's gonna really come down to the jungle matchup and what the Nocturne can do, and what the Hecarim can do. I'm a bit skeptical of the Hecarim pick, just because I feel like Renata really is so annoying for that champion to deal with, right? She can handshake if you go for an E play, and if you go for an ult play, then Berserk will still follow through. Even though you're unstoppable, right? The status is still on you, so by the time you finish your ult channel, you can't E the target that you want to. It's really quite annoying. And I think Aatrox is just 5 times better as a champion than the Gwen is. Aatrox is so broken. I think actually this is another game where you could go Gore Drinker Aatrox, even though lethality is more meta. They have 4 melee champs and then a low range AD carry. And another reason I think Gore Drinker is like extra valuable into champions like Kalista is she wants to get you low and then execute you. And so just getting low and then surprising her Ren burst with a massive burst of healing like Gore Drinker can afford is pretty big. It wouldn't be terrible if he goes lethality, because obviously Gwen's going to be an AP champ. Galio builds AP. Oh, fighting in the bot lane. SGB really love fist fighting with this bot lane. Like, they did it MSI to every fucking team. Like, I guess they just don't care about the wave state. Maybe that's why they're always playing Kalista lanes, is like Kalista Tristana. They just only know how to fight level 1 and get wave push. I'm curious to see if that's why their jungler always starts topside, so he can just gank them on the wave bounce. Surely not, though. That'd be too predictable if they did that every series, every game. Pretty standard items across the board. I will say, it kind of sucks that Style is high HP. Ghost has already blown 2 of her potions. Gank mid from the Hecarim. Pomp the Ghost already. Good flash from Kadi early, but he still might die for it. Does just gonna walk out. Good sidestep on the Q. Really big that he doesn't take that chunk and ends up like 2 more HP bars down. Because it means Galio can always threaten all in. Now Galio would need like 2 more all-ins or a bit more Q poke in order to kill. Right? He can't kill here. Or he can't even get in threat of killing. But if he'd gotten the Q earlier, he might have. BJ is looking for it. Kadi's obviously aware that he's in danger. But his wave is also in like this sucks for him. The only upside, right, is that Froggy doesn't have TP. So he can't get a good base timing here. So as long as Nocturne defends mid lane for like the next few minutes, it should end up not being too big of a deal for Victor. Levi clears the ward, forces Froggy back. Wave should freeze, so this sucks for Froggy now. Took Spellbook, but Cleanse is like his base summoner spell. I guess for the Renata ult, that's like the big cooldown. Obviously you can use it for the Varus route, but I don't think Galio's in too much danger from that. Or like the Nocturne Fear or the Victor W. But I don't know, I think TP would have been better. We'll see if he ends up, I mean, right now he's even in lane, but if he ends up going down like massively in experience or CS, then hindsight 2020. Or even like maybe exhaust. Just play full support for your AD carry. Since based on MSI and also just from what I've heard, like Shogun is like the main carry of this team. Obviously at MSI, their bot lane was the one that sort of stood out, and I think Hosman kind of suffered. Obviously leaning into Zeus is not going to look great for anyone. Dive coming through. Stun doesn't go off by the Victor. Really well executed, actually. Froggy gets away with... Oh! Levi manages to pick up another kill on the trade. I assume we'll have another look at that. Vietnam's spectate tool is pretty good. I can't tell if the wave doesn't look like it's crashing. Oh, one minion just suicided under the tower. That's so unlike you for the Victor. It was going to freeze until that melee went and died. Now it's pushing out. Sucks. So the sequence is actually like really good for... So first of all, just a really nice timer by BJ. I wonder if he kept track of how many camps Nocturne had done on when he showed clearing the ward and then ganking mid, and knew that Nocturne had full cleared and that he would just full clear again, because obviously Nocturne you want to hit 6. So he finds a window to sneak in as the Krugs like should be spawning, and Nocturne will be on them to gank mid. Kadi obviously has no flash. Really good pincer. This is just about how quickly they can get the kill and get out, because they don't want to take tower damage. I think this W is really troll. Because obviously Hecarim's going to push you, right? He's Wing the Hecarim, not the Galio. If he W'd right here, he would have traded 1 kill on his own. Instead, he doesn't stun the Galio, doesn't stun the Hecarim. Hecarim actually managed to push him out of the tower and drop aggro, and it switches to Froggy. He finishes the kill. Froggy lives with the sliver of HP, and then Levi, this is actually pretty intelligent. I think, assuming what I am saying is what was going on in their heads, right? If the Hecarim had been tracking the Nocturne, right, and he didn't just get lucky by not running into the Nocturne here, they should know that Nocturne was on Krugs and is now on the Raptors. So staying here with no flash, no mobility, on 20 HP is really troll. Just let your jungler push the next wave for you. But obviously, like, you have to have good presence of mind to keep track of all these things, so just con slipping. Unlucky. Hosman getting some gank attention. Waves pushing out for him really sucks. His jungler should have came top and fixed the wave state, but obviously Hecarim needs to farm camps because he forced a dive mid while all his camps were up. That's the cost of just only ganking like that. Connie knows that. And Hecarim's nearby. No way that the Galio just dashes straight in on you when you're 2 inches away from your tower. Yep. Kaya just has the wave in a really good spot. Gwen has no flash because she doesn't normally take it. Didn't opt for the ghost this game either, so there's no hope of running away. Levi just hits the chain. Yep. Nice and easy kill. Actually gives the kill over the Aatrox, which is pretty good. I'd assume just a Stridebreaker build for the Nocturne. And yep, CDR Chem Tank build probably for the Hecarim. Looks like it will be Shield Bow for the Varus. That's pretty standard from what I have been seeing. It's usually just sort of like similar to a Kalista build. Not quite the same, because Kalista goes like Shield Bow, Guinsoo's, Runans. And while I have seen some Varuses do that, I've also seen like Hex Drinker, or not Hex Drinker, Wits End from some. Yeah, so like they're both on-hit builds, but the Varus is more for like survivability and proccing his Blight, obviously, and the Kalistas is for stacking spears. Overall, though, only a 600 gold lead, which would be fine in a normal context, but I think this comp like really needs to get ahead. Like when Hecarim's ahead, this champion is so impressive. He can just roll through everybody. He takes no damage. He one-shots your AD carry and your support at the same time. The Galio's ulting in on your ass, and then you're CC'd and you're just dead. But like if you're behind, this champion just like runs in and dies. And then like I don't know, your front line's just weak, not strong enough to tank. Because they're not like actual tank champions who will always be tanky with a tank item or two. They're frontline champions who rely on like being on their item spikes to properly tank while dealing the damage that they should be dealing. BJ looking for a play on Tiaya. He has flash, so obviously this guy shouldn't die here. Just pops the ult. Still, Good for the Gwen's lane state. Aatrox doesn't have ult. That means that she can threaten all-ins with Ignite, and he won't be able to turn it. Gaia is doing the Rift Herald. He's currently down 4 camps, though, which is quite a lot. The Nocturne's level 7 to his level 6. And they're trading Drake for Herald. Also, this is like implicit power. But Kiaya's camps have been up for a while he's doing this, so he's losing out on camp time. Whereas for most of this Drake, these two are still spawning. They just spawned now. So now Levi gets to finish taking Drake, and then return to clearing. Whereas Hecarim's clearing is on pause for him to take this objective. Mountain Drake, at the very least, doesn't get much value into Gwen just because of the true damage that she pumps out. Granted, this is nerf Gwen, so her true damage is a lot less. And it's not like they have anyone running a penetration build, so it's not like the worst Mountain Drake to lose. Mountain and Ocean means we could get Hextech, Infernal, or Cloud Soul. We'll see what ends up being this game. Gold lead just about even now with the Herald take. Should end up being fully even once they lay the Herald. I would guess that the Hecarim is going to look for a play on one of the side lanes with the Galio roaming with him. They get a wipe, and then they take the whole tower. It should be their goal. If they're not able to find an angle, right? I think it's best for the Herald to be used in that manner, but if you can't get a fight into a full tower take, then I think just drop it mid for the chip damage against the Victor. You want to get the Victor's mid tower at some point in the game, because obviously control mages are really difficult to deal with when they still have tower pressure to play around. Cody just getting some defensive vision. Pink into his choke so he won't get dived again. Looks like a trade in the top lane. Aatrox doesn't want to fight it because he's ignited. Ult trade overall. Osman's in a pretty good lane state. 13 CS up, and he has the wave in a really nice spot. So despite the jungle help, it looks like the Hecarim's return gank. Oh, Liz Levi's looking for another gank top. Chain keeps connected. Flash from the Aatrox. Okay, missed a couple of his spells, but at the end, he still hit the inside parts, so the damage is there, and they get the kill. Should be able to equalize the CS with this. Meanwhile, Cody is going to be getting the attention of the rest of the team. He should hold this wave outside the tower. Yeah, you can tell he knows something's up. I wonder if there's a better way to play that. Difficult. I wonder if we're gonna replay. I just wanna. I'll just look at it right now. Right. So, bot lane's coming to him. Hey, Amumu's missing. Don't have eyes on Hecarim. And his vision's topside, right? So he knows they're somewhere here. I think they actually walked over wards, right? Who am I kidding? They walked over these wards. I'm certain that he knows they're there. I think he needs to ult now. Like, you can see he's trying to keep the wave from crashing, so it's harder for them to come behind. But he's trying to do it with just his E. Ends up committing the ult now. But this minion... Actually, it doesn't take a tower. Maybe it's just not possible to outplay this. He drops the ult and gets the wave. Looks like the Amumu and the Hecarim are just going to run through the tower anyways. I don't like Wing this one. I think he's learned from last time, right? He doesn't want to W the Hecarim because he thinks he'll miss, so he'll just W the Galio and stall this part of the engage. But of course, Galio is just going to dash through it. Like, if he'd saved his W and... Like, I think the two options to Kadi earlier were E ult the wave immediately to just clear the wave and, like, make this play dissipate before it's even started. But now that the play has begun, right? Ulting the wave is, like, a mediocre option because at least you get the CS even if you die. But I think just save your W ult, like, once they've already started it. Because he does it after they go, right? Right? Like, I think your option is, as you're Eing there, just ult the wave. Like, it's 4 minions, so it sucks, and I can tell why he doesn't want to do it. But, like, at least this dive won't happen. Or, now that you've already seen them, don't W ult this guy. Because neither of them get any value. He gets a micro stun, or a micro silence on this guy that he's already, like, buffered the E for, so it doesn't matter, and then the W gets nothing. Like, if he has W ult now, maybe he can stun silence the Amumu and get a kill, like, one more turn tick. Once again, like, this is all, like, in the moment. It's just a really clean dive by, Buffalo. I think it's really hard to outplay that, but in the future, if you were going to try and outplay that like he did, I think that's how you would do it. Still, I like this play. It's different from the two Herald plays I was talking about earlier, because I didn't think they were going to be able to kill the Victor under his mid tower, but obviously, even better than just dropping the Herald and taking turret plates mid is killing the Victor and then dropping the Herald. So now the turret's, like, pretty low. Should be able to be killed after platings fall off. This is a bit facetious. He knows he's here, right? They walked over this vision. Even if they hugged this wall, this pink should still spot them, unless it's, like, too far down, in which case it would be his support or jungler who's trolling, because his pink's here. Like, this isn't his pink, it's one of his teammates. And then, yeah, just everything we talked about. Maybe save your W and ult here if you're trying to outplay, or just ult earlier to clear the wave. Just managed to get everything except for one melee creep, so, like, at least he's not losing experience off of it, but sucks for the Victor to be this far behind. Top lane fight, Kiai is baiting towards his jungler. It looks like Hasmed has no clue and is falling for the bait. This guy is running it. Like, okay. I mean, we'll get a replay of it. I don't need to rewind. Because I can, like, I play top lane. I can tell why Kiaya, or why Hasmed, doesn't necessarily believe it. Because that's pretty standard, just like, you're running down, fake wiggling, like, oh, my jungler's here. Do you want to lose your all-in timer because you think my jungler's here and you have no confirmation? But at the same time, like, this guy does have no confirmation, right? You have 0 vision topside. The Nocturne has just been full clearing all game. And you have vision in the bot. Like, it's not deep vision, so, like, yeah, you could be on Gromp and Wolves and you wouldn't have a clue, but you have 0 idea if he could be topside. And then, like, watch Kiai's movement here. Good Q, hits the center, right? This guy's, like, staying right here. He's playing, like, with the bush, right? He's not running too far, so that Hasmed doesn't think that, like, oh, I'm over chasing, I'll die, right? But, like, I don't know, this guy should be able to tell that he's just baiting for the brush play. And then his jungler, once again, I think B&J has been doing a lot on the map, but the consequence of that is every time that he's been needing to farm to catch up, Levi has gotten a window top lane. $1K gold lead for Gigabyte Marines. Like, only 2 kills or some solid dives in the mid lane. Oh, he actually commits for that? I didn't think he was going to commit for that. Still, good pick. Might go 2? Victor ult is dealing damage. Our flash from Renata. Mechanically clean, but a bit questionable at best. Still, Levi doesn't die for it. Just 1 kill to B&J, I believe, was the one who ended up picking that one up. Victor dies again and loses more CS. Sucks for him. He will TP and catch the last bit of this wave. Yeah, let's just see here. I was surprised that the Hack Room committed, but there are Mumu's here, so I guess he feels comfortable going for it. Mumu actually whiffs the Q. Good W to stall time. But unfortunately, the Victor has already died 3 times, so he's, like, a lot further behind in his items than he should be. And then, yeah, it's an ambitious engage by Bia. I guess he thinks that they're going to keep forcing. Good damage by the Victor. Crown is popped now, though. Flashes away because he sees Kiai on the mid wave. Good decision, actually. Yeah, just top camp. You lose your best engage flash. For that. Even gold lead. I'd still like Buffalo to be further ahead, just given the way their comp plays. Like, the problem is, even though this Victor is 0-3, right? Which is good, because he's the most important part of the Gigabyte Marines comp, as Levi goes in. Oh, Shogun's trolling, man. Oh, and the Triumph saves him. That's so bad. We'll see that in the replay, but Shogun trolled that. Or at least I think he did. It's possible he could have been handshake and I didn't notice, but I'll explain why I think he's trolling. But until the replay plays, the Victor is so important because this champion, like, makes the game impossible for the Callista. He's a long range slow. Okay. So here's the play. Ult in. You can see he starts the tether, starts the stride breaker. But I wish I could go back like 1 second. I wonder if there's a keybind for that. The stride breaker build is OP because it makes it hard for you to escape the fear, right? But his Amumu stuns the Nocturne while the Chain is on. And I think if Shogun had taken advantage of the stun to flash max distance, he would have gotten out. But instead, Levi's actually the first to flash, so the tether doesn't break. I think it's a bit greedy of Shogun to think that he can just keep auto-attacking out of the tether range, but Nocturne has flash up. Solid play bot, 2 kills. In the end, they lose tempo on the map, and B&J is able to pick up the Herald. Overall, pretty decent trade, I think. I think they should... It kind of sucks. Like, I think you want to take mid-tower with this Herald, especially because it seems like Buffalo have been putting a lot of pressure on the mid lane, putting a lot of tension on the Victor. But at the same time, your Gwen wants like a longer side lane to fully take advantage of the Aatrox matchup. So dropping at bot and freeing up your Callista to rotate around the map, and then putting your Gwen down there where she can just 1v1 the Aatrox and run him down is also a way that they want to use the Herald. Levi's ult is back up. Damn, this Gwen is out of the game. Holy, it's over. This is the issue with like the way that like the game has ended up. B&J has sacked top lane in exchange for plays mid, and mid lane has suffered in exchange for Levi getting plays both top and bot. And the reason that sucks, right, is because in this composition, Galio is set up like, sure, he builds damage, but your damage is the Gwen and the Callista, and these two are behind. The reason I think it's like I can understand why they want to focus the Victor is because the Victor like is so annoying for these champs, right? He slows the Callista with his laser from 10 light years away before she can like damage him, and does half her HP. And if the Gwen gets on top of the Victor, it's actually one of like the control mages that can sort of battle champs like this at a close range with the gravity well, with the Q movement speed as well as the slows that's built into his kit. Like, it's really difficult for this Victor to die in a team fight unless he gets ulted by Hecarim and ulted by Galio in one shot in this timing window. So they want the Victor to be behind, that way he's behind on his build, can't buy defensive items, has to build damage, so he's still useful in fights. Which is why I understand the focus mid, but the problem is, even if this guy's behind, he'll still crush these two in team fights because they're behind, you know? And on the flip side, right, just because this guy is, I think, like, the most OP champ given this comp, that doesn't mean that Aatrox can't just roll through this team if he's ahead, right? Like, theoretically, Taki should have enough CC to peel the Aatrox Nocturne for Shogun, with both his stuns, his ult, and the Callista knock-up. But if they're just too tanky because they're ahead of the curve, then, like, obviously that's not relevant anymore. Buffalo just end up taking another tower mid. Some solid Everfrost from Froggy this game. He's mostly been hitting the root part of it. Mid-tower trade for the bot tower trade. And I think Shogun might just be dead here. Good cleanse. And the shield bow does make sure that he's not dead. 4v4, but the Aatrox and the Victor are here. Yeah, and you can just I don't think we'll get a replay of this. I don't think much more is going to happen. So I think I can just explain why this is so annoying, right? So first of all, Varus, good ult, good cleanse, right? But right here, like the Aatrox is so far ahead that he's just impossible to one-shot. He went Merc Treads this game, so the CC is less effective on him. Good flash to make sure that he's not hunted under the tower and ends up taking unnecessary tower aggro. And like this is an ideal setup for their team fights, right? You have the engage in front, Taki standing between Shogun and the rest of the team, so it's difficult for them to get like onto Shogun and kill him. But like you just have no damage because your members that are fed are the tank Hecarim and the Galio. So like Style goes in or gets engaged upon by BJ, but he just can't do anything, and then they're forced to run away. Oh, another root by Froggy's Everfrost. Aww. Sucks. Sucks. It's good that his teammates didn't cancel their bases, though, because they would have gotten wiped, but just greedy base placement. There was an inner tower for an outer tower at that. Will Kati die for this, though? I think he should. Yeah, there's the Hecarim. Ult. Oh, good flash. Once again, just another way that this is coming into it. The Hecarim has to be the one to kill the Victor there, because the Gwen deals 0 damage. Like, sure, she didn't commit her ult, but, like, typically you would imagine a Gwen who manages to get melee range on a squishy champion would just Q them for 50% of their HP bar, but fortunately he's not that far ahead. 0-4. Not really his fault, it's just... Well, I mean, it kind of is his fault. Like, the first one, his wave is unlucky, he needs his jungler to come help, but he can't. Like, that's a result of the decision that BJ made to dive mid and forego his CS. Like, the second one, getting baited into a fight, that one's his fault. But then, like, the other ones, like, he got dove twice. Aatrox gets a monster trade onto the Galio. Oh, this sucks for Buffalo. Actually, they managed to shut down Levi. Can they get any more, though? No, Hosmed's going too far forward. And BJ's dead. Good flash forward. Yeah. Actually looked almost decent for a second there, which surprised me. But in the end, 1 for 4. Mid-tower going down. Monster gapping by Gigabyte Marines. And they're going to get the Hextech soul point off of this. Oh, and they're going to get an inner tower off of this. Actually, no, I don't think... I mean, only Amumu's there to defend. They should be able to get it, actually. Okay. So, like... The reason this sucks, right, is as I was saying, Gigabyte Marines have a triple threat comp. Quadruple if you kind of want to count the Nocturne as a pseudo threat. But in a team fight, if Varus goes unchecked, he can win the thing. If the Victor goes unchecked, he can win the whole thing. And if the Aatrox goes unchecked, he can win the whole thing. Whereas on the side of Buffalo, they have 2 threats. They have the Callista, and they have the Gwen. Unfortunately, Gwen is so far behind that it doesn't really matter. So in order for the Callista to succeed in these fights, she needs her Hecarim and Galio to be engaging and buying space for her. But unfortunately for her, the Galio is tied up getting blasted by the Aatrox in a 1v1 down here. Which means her 2 frontliners are the Amumu and the Hecarim. And they're over the wall from her, engaging on the Renata, I believe. Victor's is not in this fight, so they have like a decent window here. Nocturne goes in, pulls the Amumu back over. He has no ult anymore, though. They manage to CC Levi and kill him, but in the meantime, Varus is free-firing onto the Callista. And then Varus just gets to keep going. He has lethal tempo stacked. Aatrox ult resets. Like, this was a fight without Victor present for 90% of it. Hosmed is trolling here. Like, I don't know why he's dashing onto Style. Like, there's no world where you kill this guy. He has the Renata W on him. You have no Onslaught of Shadows. You're an 0-4 Gwen with, like, maybe an item. Yeah, like 4v5 and you went 1 for 4. That sucks. And then Froggy just wastes stopwatch. Sucks. This game's really over. And you can see here, Varus went Wit's End. Monster good value in this game. Even though the Gwen's behind, she's still, like, realistically the champion that's going to be threatening him. And the Galio's also fed, so Wit's End is really good for that. Now he's going to go for his Guinsoo's. Intelligent building by style. And this is why, like, once again, like, it doesn't matter that the victor's 0-3. He wasn't even in the fight. And they still lost. The issue is that your Gwen is, like, super behind. So you can see here, he's opting for the Shadow Flame build because of the way Gwen was changed to her, like the changes to her ults, and basically your only job, like you're not a Q champ, your job is to like click R 3 times in a team fight, and if you click the backline 3 times in a row, they should just die. Unfortunately, I think it's a bit difficult to go that build when you're behind. Plus he indexed into, oh, engage onto style. Good knockback by the Hecarim. The Renata ult is gonna be huge. Oh my god. Gets the reset from Renata. Wow, style took too long to die there. Aatrox is in the backline. Can Shogun keep kiting it out though? Actually, decent fight so far by... Oh, nope. The Aatrox resets. And resets. And resets. That was actually the best fight that they could hope for. But they're like 5k down. And their Gwen is useless. So... instead it ends up being 2 for 4. Coddy's still looking for the kill. I think he should just give up and go get the wave. Yeah, they're gonna get the mid tower off of that. 2. Really sucks. I assume we'll get a replay. And then we'll talk about it there and why it was good. So the reason this is so good, right, is because, like, your Aatrox... The biggest issue here is the vision, right? Gigabyte Marines have their vision in the top side of the map because they're setting up for Baron, and yet Levi is hovering towards the bot side of the map. So it gives like a false sense of safety because Style thinks like, oh, vision covering here, Levi covering here, I'm good. But Hecarim gets like a really nice flank angle to where they don't see him. Your Victor is in base again. He's always in base for these fights. And I'd assumed they were setting up for a fight in like 20 seconds because their Aatrox is flanking. You see, Levi spots BJ as he's going in, but it's already too late for these two. They don't have flash. They don't have Varus ult, so they can't ult this guy and stop him, right? Style is going to get ulted. Hits the fear, hits the knockback, really good. Into the Amumu knockup. Galio's already channeling the ulti. Style is just in the bounce house for his whole career. The Renata ult is absolutely massive. Hits 5 people. Unfortunately, only the Amumu really gets killed by it. And he resets Style's Renata W here. What does concern me is how long Style gets to auto attack. Watch, he just got rest, and it takes him like, I think two more seconds than he deserved to live, and he got a decent chunk onto Hazmat in the meantime. Cody has BJ zoned out of this fight, but it's still decent because Kiaya I think has E down, and he's not able to get on Shogun properly, and Callista is like in position to free fire, as you'll see here. He misses the W. Gwen ults the stopwatch Renata. Damn, that sucks. She has to blow her Q on it because she missed her ult. And so they can't kill Levi from this position. The Aatrox is just a monster ahead and it's impossible to deal with him. If Callista was further ahead, or if like Aatrox wasn't like 2 item in the fight, I think they can win. But they're just really far behind in the lanes that matter. And even though, once again, the Galio is further ahead than the Victor, even with a monster Galio ult and a 5-man or like 4-man taunt, he just like still doesn't deal damage because his job is to engage and be utility, and that's why he has anti-heal and a root for his items. Two minutes on the Hextech Soul. Honestly, I think Gigabyte Marines, if Baron control, could just force a Baron. They need to stop letting the hack room get these monster flanks off, though. Like, where are their pink wards? They should see him now. Okay, good job by Levi forcing this guy off. Renata's popped the Shirelius. Good Amumu stun. Engage onto Shogun, flashes away. Fortunately, he's not able to get style bumped in the right direction, but they do catch Kadi out. Wow, the Aatrox is just doing whatever he wants in this game. I think he could have pushed him in a better direction. Bit of a misplay, though. Can style outplay here, though? Oh, Taki, you're inting. Still, and once again, another fight that I think Saigon have no business going even in, but they do come out 3 for 3, and they get some pretty big shutdowns. So it's actually really worth for the Buffalo. That's what I'm having to look at it. So, like, the decision making is split here. I think it should have started like 10 seconds sooner. Shirelli's is popped from Renata, and Levi's call is, let's go collapse the hacker rim. And the rest of his team's call is, let's collapse the Galio, while the hacker rim's like far from the team. Both junglers use their utility to get in. The Amumu gets a massive 4-man stun, though. This is huge. And then the Galio has distance to channel it on top of him. So it's another, actually 2 flashes out. So a 2-man knockup plus Zanya, or 3-man knockup plus Zanya is forced. I think BJ's engage onto style here could be better. He fears him up and then runs through the team. In the meantime, this is really the part of the fight that you have to be keeping an eye on. Victor stopwatches out of... He doesn't stopwatch the stun, but he does stopwatch like the Shogun damage. And then Aatrox is here, and like Kalista's just able to free hit the Victor, which is why that guy dies so quickly. So that's really good for them. Victor is like mispositioned in this fight and gets one shot. But then the Aatrox is in the backline. Good kiting and splitting to make sure that the Aatrox can't just keep hitting multi-man Qs and never dying. And then I believe Kiaya, like, yeah, he doesn't... That's odd. It looked like Q2 hit, but it didn't knock up. Oh, and he misses Q3. This guy trolls the fight. If he hits the Q3, then I think maybe he can kill Shogun. Oh, and he misses a Q there. If he'd hit the Q3 earlier and hit the Q1 there, this fight is so different. But, and then, in the end, the Amumu hooks a minion and they go 3 for 3. Still good for Saigon. They're gonna try and force the Baron. Froggy's in a good position to just ult in. Like, it doesn't matter that he's split from the fight. Oh, this is actually the first time that this has happened, though. He's always managed to ult before the Nocturnal comes through, and now the Nocturnal ult denies. Goes in onto the Kalista. Oh, Shogun is just one shot because he has no subs from the last fight. The Ronaldo ult rips through, and Style just isn't getting killed. He's gonna get the bailout too. Holy, it's a monster fight. During the replay, I want to keep my eyes on the Victor too, because it looked like he was just untouched. Yeah, we should see it in a second. But Baron and Hextech Soul for the side of Gigabyte Marines. This game is so over. 10k gold lead already. They haven't even broken into the base. Okay, so the really massive thing here is that Froggy doesn't get ult off before the Nocturne ult comes through. There's 3 in the pit, so Binja is taking Baron. So the health bars are already in Gigabyte Marine's favor. Taki wants to find a good, like, ult angle, but this time Kiai is standing in his way, and he has no flash, so he has no way to get onto the backline. And instead, he Qs to try and protect Kalista, and isn't able to get a good ult angle off. And then, yeah, the Victor's just free-firing as his style. I can see the thought process, right? Like, Shogun is the damage, and so Taki wants to protect him. But I think he gets more value protecting him by going forward with the Q there and stunning the backline and halting the damage, and letting B&J peel the Aatrox and the Nocturne off. Because he turns onto the Nocturne and Aatrox as well, no one is stopping the Victor or the Varus damage, and they just kill everyone. kind of a negligent point in the fight, but Hosmid was fighting style. He ends up getting bailed out because he couldn't kill him quick enough. Once again, just another factor of the fact that he's a 2-8 Gwen. Just another, I don't know. I think what's more egregious is just the fact that they picked Gwen. Like, yeah, this matchup isn't it's not like a counter matchup or anything. The champ is just too weak, and she wasn't able to, get ahead, and so she doesn't have the same reliability that she used to. Good engage by Tonki. Gets a 2-man stun, but Caudy wasn't either. Has the E down. Gets big damage with the E and the R. No one's on the Victor. Gwen does some damage, but he goes into stasis. Yeah, they're just so far behind. That's a wrap on game 2. Really well played by Gigabyte Marines. I think Levi's engages were always pretty solid. The Renata was, once again, I don't know. It's just hard to comment on how strong I think this team is, because there's just such big errors from this team, right? Like, their team comp is just so scuffed, they can never get a proper, fight that they want off, thanks to the Nocturne ult. So it's hard to, do I commend these two for just standing where they should be and auto-attacking and clicking their spells like they should be? Yeah, it's the right play. They're not, in the enemy's backline, making, a massive mistake. But at the same time, while I do think this comp is worse, if this is a different team, right, that knows how to pull the trigger more effectively and protect their lanes from falling behind, right? If this is even RNG or something, does this team not, roll them in the early game? Are they able to hold out? It looked like their mid laner was struggling in the early game. If these other 3 players struggle as well against stronger laners, does this superior team comp just not matter? I don't know, just things to think about. We'll see in game 3. If it's... I kind of want to watch the semis as well and see how Saigon Buffalo won those, so I'll think about it.